You ever feel like you're fighting a battle with yourself? Where one part of you wants to do something, but another part just pulls you in a totally different direction? Well, today we're going to dive deep into that feeling. We're exploring the really powerful link between past trauma and how we see ourselves right now. And, more importantly, we're going to look at a whole new, kind of compassionate way to understand that inner conflict. And maybe, just maybe, start to heal. So let's get into it. I love this quote from Walt Whitman. It's the perfect place to start. Because what if all that internal conflict isn't some flaw we need to fix? What if it's just a sign that, yeah, we contain multitudes? This whole idea that our mind isn't just one single thing, but a collection of different parts, different voices, that's going to be at the very heart of everything we talk about today. Okay, so first things first, we need to ground ourselves in the core problem here. We're going to take a look at the powerful and often really vicious cycle that can get set up between tough past experiences and our sense of self-worth today.
Now, when we say trauma, it's super important we're on the same page. It's not really about the event itself. Trauma is the lasting impact. It's that emotional response that just completely overwhelms your ability to cope, and it leaves this deep imprint on your whole system, your body and your mind.
And that imprint? Well, it often shows up as low self-worth. It might sound like that constant nagging inner critic in your head. Or maybe it looks like avoiding new things because you're just so scared of failing. It can feel like pulling away from people to stay safe, or that deep, deep need to make everyone else happy, even if it totally burns you out. These are all super common ways trauma can chip away at our sense of value. Okay, but here's where we take a sharp turn. What if we reframe this entire picture? What if that negative self-talk, that avoidance, that people-pleasing, what if they aren't just symptoms that are broken and need to be fixed? What if they are actually different parts of you? Each one with a good intention, each one trying its absolute best to protect you from getting hurt again.
And that single question leads us to this amazing framework called Internal Family Systems, or IFS for short. It gives us a really helpful way to think about this. Imagine your mind isn't just one thing, but it's more like an inner family. It's made up of all these different parts, and each one has its own feelings, its own beliefs, and its own job to do.
Now, the big idea here is honestly radical compassion. In this way of looking at things, there are no bad parts. Seriously, that critical voice, that anxious part, that impulsive urge, they all have a positive intention. They took on these roles to help you survive, even if the way they're doing it now is causing more problems. So let's meet the key players in this inner family, shall we? The IFS model basically breaks our parts down into two main types. You've got the vulnerable parts that hold all our pain, and then you have the protective parts that work around the clock to keep that pain from taking over. So first up, we have the exiles. These are the young, really vulnerable parts of us. They're the ones holding on to the pain from past trauma. The feelings of shame, fear, loneliness, the belief that we're not worthy. The rest of our inner system works so hard to keep them locked away, or exiled, so that we can just function and get through the day. And who's protecting those exiles? Well, that's the job of the managers. These parts are so proactive. They're always looking to the future, trying to control your life, your job, your relationships, anything to stop one of your exiles from getting hurt again. A manager could show up as a perfectionist, an inner critic, a micromanager, or a people pleaser, all in the name of keeping you safe. And then you have another kind of protector, the firefighters. So what happens when a manager's plan doesn't work and an exile's pain bursts through? That's when these parts rush in. They are 100% reactive. Their only job is to put out the emotional fire right now. And they'll use any tool they can grab impulsive behaviors, numbing out, addictions, without thinking at all about the long-term consequences.
So let's just pull this all together for a second. You have the exiles, and they're stuck in the past, just wanting to be seen and healed. Then you have your managers, totally focused on the future, trying to keep those exiles locked down. And finally, the firefighters, who are all about the present moment, just trying to extinguish pain now. You can see how it's this whole system constantly trying to keep its balance, even if it feels completely chaotic from the inside. So if our minds are full of all these competing parts, you're probably wondering, who's in charge here? This is where the most hopeful and honestly the most life-changing part of this whole model comes in. It says that underneath all of these parts, every single one of us has a core, undamaged, wise center, and it's called the self. This core is the self. It's not just another part, it's the real you. It's that calm, compassionate, and confident leader that lives inside. See, the goal isn't to get rid of your parts. The goal is to access this self-energy so you can lead them with understanding, instead of being led by them.
And you know you're in that self-energy when you start to feel what IFS calls the 8 C's. When you can approach a really intense feeling with genuine curiosity instead of judgment, or with compassion instead of fear, that's you, leading from yourself. And the most incredible thing is, this powerful resource for healing already exists inside every one of us.
Okay, so this all sounds great, right? But how do we actually put it into practice? Let's look at how this whole framework helps us rebuild self-worth by thinking about healing as an act of compassionate leadership toward our own inner family.
It really starts with just listening, turning inward and acknowledging all your parts, even the ones you don't like, without judging them. From there, you can practice self-compassion, treating these parts with the same kindness you'd give to a friend. Setting boundaries suddenly becomes about protecting your entire inner system. And focusing on strengths, well, that's about seeing the positive intention behind even your toughest parts, while celebrating the calm wisdom of your core self.
So we'll leave you with this final thought. Instead of always asking, how can I fix myself? What if a more compassionate and a more powerful question is this? What does your inner family need to hear from you, their leader, today? Maybe it's a word of reassurance, of gratitude, or maybe it's just, I see you.